Good day everyone. Today we will be discussing about the 19th century contact and change. Before anything else, I would like to clarify to you when was really considered the 19th century. So when we say 19th century, we are talking about those times from January 1, 1801 to December 31, 1900. These are the topics that I will be discussing: development of the comparative method, communications and contact, local and global English, recording the language, a changing language, grammar, and new words. Development of the comparative method. It is generally agreed that the most outstanding achievement of linguistic scholarship in the 19th century was the development of the comparative method. Comparative method is composed of a set of principles whereby languages could be systematically compared with respect to their sound systems, grammatical structure, and vocabulary, and shown to be genealogically related. When we say genealogically, it is in a way that is related to the history of the past and present members of the family or families. Now, languages of Asia and Europe had evolved from some earlier language, which they named Indo-European or Proto-Indo-European. It is said that the Romance languages were descended from Latin, thus constituted one family. The nature of their genealogical relationship was first demonstrated by the 19th century comparative philologist. The term philology traditionally means the study of the history of language, including the historical study of literary text. It is then called comparative philology when the emphasis is on the comparison of the historical states of different languages. The main stimulus for the development of comparative philology came toward the end of the 18th century when it was discovered that Sanskrit bore a number of striking resemblances to Greek and Latin. During the time, an English Orientalist, Sir William Jones, though he was not the first to observe these resemblances, is generally given the credit for bringing them to the attention of the scholarly world and putting forward the hypothesis that all three languages must have sprung from some common source, which perhaps do not longer exist. It is also during this time that a number of texts and glossaries of the older Germanic languages had been published. Jones realized that Germanic as well as Old Persian and perhaps Celtic had evolved from the same common source. The next remarkable happening was on 1822. A German scholarship, Jacob Grimm, pointed out that there were a number of systematic correspondences between the sounds of Germanic and the sounds of Latin, Greek, and Sanskrit in related words. Grimm noted that, for example, Gothic, the oldest surviving Germanic language, had an F, therefore Latin, Greek, and Sanskrit frequently had a P. An example for that is the word foot. In Gothic, it is termed as foetus, which has initial letter F. Now in Latin, it is pedis. In Greek, podos. And in Sanskrit, padas. all have initial letter P. In the 1870s, a group of scholars known as Young Grammatiker or Young Grammarians or Neo-Grammarians put forward the thesis that all changes in the sound system of a language as it developed through time were subject to the operation of regular sound laws. Using the principle of sound change, they were able to reconstruct ancestral common forms from which the later forms found in particular languages could be derived. Next topic, communications and contact. While the horse-drawn cab continued in use, new words such as omnibus and train confirmed the changing nature of communication and travel. In travel, there were new inventions of train, omnibus, and motor car. And by the end of the century, the form omnibus was shortened to bus. On the other hand, in communication, there is an invention of electric telegraph and telegram in 1840s, internet, and telephone. For the first time, language could be transmitted in an outstanding speed without the need of face-to-face interaction. Local and global English. So I have here the quotation from the internet. No person in this country will be satisfied with the English definitions of the word Congress, Senate, and Assembly, for although these are words used in England, yet they are applied in the country to express ideas which they do not express in this country. During this time, it highlights the event of having an American dictionary of the English language. Recording the language. Phonograph is invented by Thomas Edison in the late 1870s. Phonograph, also called as record player or gramophone. Gramophone is an instrument for reproducing sounds by means of vibration of a stylus or needle following a groove on a rotating disc. So on the left corner is a picture of a phonograph. So although other past languages are gradually diminishing, with the use of this instrument, those languages were being preserved. Also, it is during this time that Oxford English Dictionary was invented. A changing language, grammar, and new words. In terms of grammar, there is a rise of the progressive passive. So to understand this, let's put it into an example. So the car is being washed by my husband. When we say present progressive passive, like in this sentence, the transitive verb in the present participle is the word being, and it is followed by a past participle word washed. Thus, this became a rule in grammar up until today. In terms of new words, innovation, I mean, in terms of new words, innovations in terminology. During this time, there came new terminologies in the field of medical. Example, medical advances lead to the introduction of anesthesia and anesthetics. Also, types of illness and diseases during this time were classified with specificity, like prevalence of suffix itis, which means inflammation of. Examples are appendicitis, conjunctivitis, and bronchitis. Also, increasing prominence of ology as suffix, namely meaning newly specialized areas of study, like biology, climatology, and ethnology. So that's it, guys. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something from my report, and have a great day.